So are you,
$8,000.
riots?
They're wondering if any of the grants, like the planning grants, I know that's ours regardless of the rest of the grant.
I don't know.
7% of
Because we're not gonna get it used in time.
Yeah, we may need to do that.
They're up
Not right now.
59.
That's this.
I just don't want to lose 20,000 or 50,000 or something that got used.
Right.
Such and such date.
Right.
Clients and.
I'll look at the related contract, I think that was. So.
Okay, so that was
Exactly. Yeah, $100,000 right there.
You said something that's been-
But it was said somewhere, because I wasn't doing math.
He said, why would that?
Somewhere it said 85. Because I was thinking that means 35 has to be out of
I've changed some things on my end.
the.
Change not on those now. I did, I know we
But
sat
what
there.
they said in the past is that they were willing to do that because they needed a hard figure.
Eric is no longer here.
When he asked me the question, just to,
And you're thinking, didn't we already cover this? Yeah, no,
so, but anyway, he's,
you and I, somebody else was there.
yeah.
I know, I was there. I know we told him
But
that.
he just said that when you do find something else for sure, you gotta let me know right away.
Well, I don't think anybody's eating less beef,
Because
so.
we told him that Chase was the interim.
Yeah.
Boy, oh boy,
So
the
now
people
something
are,
happens next couple of weeks, and then he's.
from my perspective of fair today,
Waiting to send that in and take it as a name on it.
People
No,
were-
it's not.
it was busy. The Monday, we thought it might be a nice quiet day. Oh,
Okay.
we
Well,
left.
we're just gonna have to get the ballot machines. We got their name. That's right.
Oh,
Tomatoes better than jalapenos.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like.
They're not.
They
show up. It's 100% well run. People that show up, they're movies a lot.
It's also something that you use in the city.
yeah,
So easy to
Is
put
this
in
yours?
that one little packet or whatever.
No, that's fine. I just
I ate enough
wanted to make
champagne for
sure
a
it
while.
wasn't someone else that laid it down.
Yes.
But all I do is come down and go to the Lions, and that's about the extent of They're the best burgers.
They are.
Yeah.
So it's 20 or 30 on spread.
Sunny day every day.
Other side of you said that.
Oh my!
Right?
I kind of
This weekend is not going to be a good day.
we can just relax.
I didn't know you can mute it. Where are you muted?
We already did it.
Right there? Well, here, let me put something on top of that. It is, it's getting close.
It's 6:30 for real, that's behind.
Yep.
All right. Welcome to our regular scheduled meeting of the Tracy City Council for September 3rd? No. I'm already Labor Day. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So Pam is not joining us, or she is
I had
joining?
to reboot my computer. I didn't have a screen, so I'm going to have her up here in a second.
Okay. Hang on, Pam. She isn't joining us. I think we can still go with the approval of the agenda, can't we?
I move that we approve the agenda as stated.
We have one addition. 7D.
Say that again?
7G. It's on the.
She has it on here already, but it's highlighted. painting lines on Center Street. Just having a discussion on that. We're gonna be doing it tomorrow here, so.
Any other additions? Should we have a motion, and have a second?
I move that we approve the agenda as amended.
Okay,
Second?
all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. Do we have any public hearing?
Nope.
Any audience participation this evening?
Nope.
All right. We move forward with the consent calendar.
I'll make a motion to approve the August 14th council minutes, approve municipal accounts payable and to payroll without breakthrough beverage, approve municipal accounts receivable, and approve the July 12th park board minutes.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Call for vote.
Van Dyke,
Aye.
Jones,
Aye.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Cardozo,
Yes.
Teets,
Aye.
and Town Mayor Dobson.
Yes.
I'll make a motion to approve accounts payable for breakthrough beverage.
Second?
Second.
Vote in a second. Any discussion? Call for a vote.
Cardozo,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Jones,
Aye.
Van Dyke,
Aye.
and Town Mayor Dobson.
Yes. Is Pam on yet?
Try.
When she comes on, say we're adjourned.
Oh, that's mean.
Yeah, shame on me.
Should we skip down to a staff report then and while we wait, or?
Yeah, we can do that.
All right. Anybody want to do a staff report and get out early? You're welcome to stay for the entire.
I don't know if you need me for anything else, I can sure stay.
All right. Thank you, Val.
Just wanted to mention a couple of things that we'll have going on this weekend. So, Saturday from 4 to 6, we're going to set up a table out by the library. We thought that would be a good place to do that, to get some more input on the public art project that we're planning. We're planning on having a couple of, kind of mock-ups for people to look at, and hopefully we'll get a number of people who are coming downtown that evening that we can talk to. So,
What's the time again?
4 to 6 on Saturday.
Thank you.
That'll be right when the Midway opens. So, should be a good time. And then on Sunday from 2 to 4, we'll be doing a group art project where kids can come and paint together on canvases. And they'll all be painting yellow flowers, but of course they'll all look different. And then we will display those in the gallery space at the library so people can come and look at those. So that should also be fun. And that is a free activity. Other than that, there's some more events coming up. Otherwise, if you have any questions for me, that would be great.
I missed the time on Sunday.
Sunday, 2 to 4. Hopefully I don't melt.
Thank you.
Stay in the shade.
To this side of the building. Any other questions for Val? Thank you.
All right, thanks.
Very good, thank you.
Chief?
He wants to stay.
Won't be getting out
You
early.
may need to stay for the resolution.
I'll entertain any questions you have about the department I submitted to you. I don't have a whole lot to add, I guess.
Any questions at all on?
When do you find out about the grant?
It wasn't even due until September 7th.
Oh. Okay, so it'll be a little bit.
It'll be a little bit. So, and it was only for like $1,600 and some dollars.
Oh, here you had my hopes up with grant. That was big.
Oh, no.
We'll take anything.
Oh, after all that, huh?
Yeah, right. We'll just put you on the phone here.
Hey, Pam.
Hello, everybody.
Hi, Pam.
You all here?
Yep.
Can you guys be over there?
Yes.
So,
Do we need Jason to weigh in on the resolution approving this joint powers agreement? Is that something that's?
Yeah, that's later in the agenda. I'll stick around for that.
Will you be able to stay for that? Okay.
Anything else?
Jason, do you have any announcements for the public for Boxcar Days, the parade route parking, or anything people need to know? People have been pretty good about not parking on the parade route. I guess they're used to it mostly.
Yeah, we tend to catch up with them all, so.
Thank you.
Yep.
So with Pam on the phone, we will resume then the consent count, or the mayor council communication 7A.
All right, put this back on the agenda after last week's meeting. Make a decision on the city administrator position for council bills. If given that any thought, how you want to move forward there.
So my understanding is, in part of what we received, there is a agreement that's been drawn up. It's not been reviewed by either party yet, as far as officially.
Just a draft, some notes in it, based on the current or the past administrator's agreement, with some modifications. Can be negotiated, changed, however you see fit.
And that was through the group, the 3 members of council?
That's
or?
just, okay, that's just sent out to the council for your information, if you wanted to look it over.
Out today, or?
Yeah. I sent it out today, but it doesn't.
Okay, then I haven't checked my
Right.
email for that.
So, it's not really on the agenda, being there's no administrator applicant that's been approved, so it's kind of early right now as far as, but if you guys want to think about things you want on it, I just sent it out for your information.
My main question to Matt is how we best move forward here. As far as public versus the work group for doing the legwork.
Sure. So anything that you want done as a council as a whole has to be open meeting. Up until you offer the position and it's accepted. At that point, that the city administrator who accepts that position will be subject to the city's authority. So then you could have a closed meeting under an evaluation consideration under the closed meeting. So, but to get to that point, any deliberations by the council have to be public. The council can make the recommendations to the council as a whole, but if you as a council want to deliberate, that has to be done in public meeting. And obviously, the council has to approve offering the position.
Who it's offered to. Okay.
So if we offer the position and the person declines, then what?
Then you have a decision on whether you take the other applicant, or then you can reopen the application process itself and start again.
Did we? I thought we were going to kind of send this back to that committee to review.
We were waiting for Matt to tell us which way to proceed.
It sounds like that's probably that smaller working group with not a quorum of council members, so 3 council members and 3 individuals from the department heads, including acting administrator. If they draw this up with council individual, if individually we let Shane know that if there's any questions in what has been drafted thus far, we can do that individually.
Correct.
And then that working group can go over that, can make that offer to see that it is accepted or not, and then bring back the recommendation to us then at the council meeting.
You can always you always can offer the candidate position subject to proper negotiation of an agreement. So,
I think part of the question is, once you say one, that you're gonna offer it to this one, the other one's gonna say, heck with you, sayonara. And then we would definitely have to go back to ground zero when the first one turns it down. That's, I guess, what we're trying to keep in our back pocket. And so I was sitting here trying, after the meeting, trying to remember, and I think how we did it with Eric or with Chris is the committee was given guidelines that we could negotiate up to this point with a salary, up to this point with benefits.
Yep.
You know, it's mainly what it is it's salary and benefits. Because then we didn't have to go with one contract. If they want to negotiate a higher salary or more vacation time or whatever, we didn't have to bring it back 2 weeks later to the next council meeting to get approval and stuff like that. So I guess that's what I'm looking for, unless we're going to say here publicly who we're going to offer it to, contingent on an acceptance of an agreement of employment. You know, I guess it depends on how the majority of the council feels as far as just going out there and taking the chance.
I personally think it's important that we as a council publicly announce our choice by name rather than the candidate A or B, because the public wants to know, and I just think that's the best way to move forward.
you can, now that they're finalists, you can refer them by their names, if you've declared finalists.
We did.
Okay, so then you can refer to them by their names at this point. That's
But if they haven't accepted the contract, this person hasn't accepted the terms of the deal.
We haven't offered anything.
Yeah, but I mean, so how do you get that figured
Yeah,
out?
that's the thing is, how do
You
we?
offer it, but you don't know what you're offering them. Well, what if they say, well, that's not enough, or that's way too much?
Well, and then how do we vote whether or not we're offering anything to anyone?
Yeah. You're making it hard.
I mean, you can approve that person subject to successful agreement that you can formulate, or you come up with all the details you want for the proposed agreement and present it to them, and then see what they say and approve it.
So if we say by name today, we're going to offer it to Jerry Shones. Well, I know I turned it down, so, you know, we're going to offer it to Jerry Shones under the condition that we are able to come to an agreement. Then can we go into a closed session to come up with a package?
If that person accepts and agrees to what you're offering, yes, but until that point, you need acceptance, because then they technically wouldn't be an employee of the city, and you can't.
I guess I would prefer that the working group to work out the details, bring back a resolution that we can vote on, and go from there. That's what I would prefer. Otherwise, without a vote, I think it's presumptive to announce a name.
So with that in mind, then your small group, working group would meet, and then it would be presented at the next council meeting. My concern is how long can we drag this out?
Can't have it done before the end of September anyway.
Well, their official start date can't be before that.
Correct. So I don't, there's
We
no
can
rush.
announce it tomorrow.
Yeah, we can announce it and negotiate and hire them, offer them the position with the starting date of October 1st. You know, because a lot of candidates, if they would have to give a 4-week notice wherever they're at, that would be typical anyways.
And that was the reason you said we couldn't start until
It's
later.
because of paperwork.
Yeah, because of the
For all the grants.
the USDA, all that closing
Oh,
stuff,
right. We did
that's all on
discuss that at
Shane's.
the last meeting. Thank you, I forgot.
Yeah, that, we just need to keep that clean,
Yeah.
closing up that whole thing. So then, can we get guidance though from the full council as to what we're able to put in the contract?
At a public meeting, yeah, you can.
Well, I emailed back my suggested changes. Did anyone else do that?
I did not.
I did not.
I have not even seen the email, sorry, 'cause I
It wasn't
looked this
till
morning, but I did not look later today, so.
mid to late afternoon, I would think.
Some of the things you may consider too is some of the prior evaluations that we had for the administrator, some of the things that the council brought up, that can be included in a contract. So if you want specific components that they have to perform, that should be somewhat relatively fresh in the council's mind. Some of those are some of the items that you can include.
What Shane had sent out does have
Sure.
some very clear
bullets.
stepping stones and review points and areas of concern.
Okay, so if everybody would get their feedback to Shane, then the subcommittee could meet and draw up the contract
You could have a proposal.
and offer the position.
You could have, the subcommittee could not. It needs to come from the council itself. So they could review those recommendations, put something together, and it would be ultimately up to the council to approve that before you could make that offer.
So we can't talk to a candidate until the council says?
You can, but not as a council as a whole.
Not as a what?
But not as a council as a whole.
So
if I want to call up Jerry Jones, who we're offering the job to, and go, we're going to offer you 2 weeks vacation, $85,000 a year, do you accept that? And then we come back to the full council and go, we recommended this, and this is the guidelines that we're going to go with.
The way to phrase it would be, if this was something that was offered, would you accept it? If they say yes, then you have an idea whether that was something that they would approve. Then the council can approve that contract with those terms. And depending on how you want to go about it, you can approve the hire with the terms of what you guys agreed with the candidate. Or, like I said before, if you don't have that in place, you would agree to hire that candidate subject to negotiation of the terms. The subcommittee can prepare all those recommendations, put it in an agreement, and they could communicate with the candidate. But
They've
ultimately,
already
that
have.
has to be approved by the council,
Right.
obviously the contract.
So the
and
actual
hire.
contract as drawn up would be submitted to the council. Council would vote on that and sign, and then the party that it's offered to would then sign. It wouldn't be the first time they'd seen it because they were involved with that interview process with.
You can use
already
that.
have.
You can use that subcommittee to. You can use that subcommittee to do a lot of the legwork.
I don't get this because that's like telling somebody, I'll buy your 500 head of cattle and then have to pay him for whatever price he tells you then. I mean, you can't negotiate if you already said you got the job.
There's
No, you
always
can
room for
still
negotiation.
negotiate.
There's always room for negotiation.
You say you're being offered the job
Under these.
under these.
conditions.
Yeah.
And if you guys approve certain terms and the candidate says, you know what, I would like X, Y, and Z changed, you can consider that and make those revisions.
I guess I'm not, what is your concern of waiting a couple weeks? I mean, is there a rush?
I just don't think it's fair to the candidates. You know,
What is
if,
not fair? I'm trying to find out what.
to not at least go to them with an offer.
I thought that's what this small group was going to do. Within the next 2 weeks, you were going to be meeting with them.
Yeah, and that's what I'm
Doing that.
fine with. I didn't want that we could put together as a committee, then bring it back here and go to a committee.
the subcommittee
I want us to
can-
talk to the
I think the
employee.
subcommittee,
Can
with
do
the
all that.
individual recommendations of each council member, not as a group, but back to Shane, these are our recommendations. Pull that together with that group, which he's a part of and you're part of. You meet together, consolidate it, bring in the candidate that you're working with, and
No, I'm fine with
finalize
that.
those details, bring it back,
And then on the 11th, we just come in and vote it up or down.
No, I'm fine with
You
that.
good
I
with
just
that?
didn't want to wait another 2 weeks before we can even reach
No,
out to
No,
it.
no, I don't think that's fair. You're right. No, that would not be.
Personally, I'm in favor of taking a vote tonight and announcing that this is the candidate we'd like to offer the job to, subject to the committee working out the details. But I'll go along with what the majority wants to do.
Would that be possible? What Seth just suggested?
Yep, you could say you got a motion to hire X as city administrator. You can make that motion subject to subcommittee negotiating the terms of the employment contract. You could do that.
The only risk is you lose candidate number 2 potentially.
Which, is that a huge concern, or? I mean, we did not choose candidate number 2, chose candidate number 1 with some reservations.
Yeah, I guess if candidate number 1 doesn't take the job, then we always have to open it up and look again. Because we seem to be functioning okay.
Shane's not sleeping, but
All right, what do the rest of you think?
I'm good with that.
Good with which one?
What?
Going with the name.
I mean, I don't feel, I'm not going to dig my heels in on this. If the majority, or if people want to announce the name, I'm fine with announcing the name. I mean,
it's still gonna be a subcommittee doing,
The negotiating.
yeah.
So if you want to proceed that, it would just be a motion to hire individual X as city administrator, subject to negotiation of the employment contract.
Should that come from a committee member?
That should come from council,
Just
somebody on the
from the
council.
council?
Do we need to do a background check with the chief sitting there staring at me?
That's part of the
You should.
negotiation
Yeah.
process.
Subject to those qualifying events. And that's part of your application for any employee.
Balls in your court, Seth.
Okay, I've heard 3 other council members besides myself state that they're in favor of announcing the name that we're recommending for the position.
I'm
So-
fine with announcing.
So I'm going to make a motion that we offer the position of city administrator to Jeff Carpenter, and ask the 3-member subcommittee to work out the contract details. So the offer would be subject to the candidate and the committee being able to hash something out that then would be brought to the council to finalize.
I second.
A motion, second. Any other discussion?
I think Jeff would do an excellent job. And I've heard many people in the community say that he's the man for the job.
I have had the same feedback.
Okay. Any other? Call for the vote.
Teagues,
Aye.
Alviso,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Dobson,
No.
Shones,
I,
Landay,
Aye.
Pam, Mayor Cohen,
So who is it then? Me, you? Who's the committee?
We should probably establish that.
Okay, so the committee is Jerry, Pam,
Pam, and then
Dave,
Dave.
Gail, Val, and Shane.
Pam, when are you back?
You asked when I'm back.
Yep.
I'll be available on Thursday.
Are you?
I'm here all weekend.
Let me just clarify something. Isn't it just the council members that are negotiating the terms? You mentioned some staff members.
You know, they're part of the interview, but
They wouldn't have to
the
be the negotiation.
the negotiating
Right.
committee could be just the three and the
Yes.
city
Yes, I would think that
administrator.
would be most appropriate.
Okay?
What's your availability Thursday?
So
we could
what
Thursday at
time?
6
Does 6 work for you, Pam?
Yes, that's fine.
down here.
You want at the council meeting or the library?
Count here in the chamber here.
Okay.
6 o'clock Thursday.
I'll be on time for that.
If not, we've got your number.
Resolution 2023-77, Community Center RFP recommendation.
So the committee met for the community center RFP. That was Jan and Tom and myself.
Yep.
Jeff,
And
Ken Witt. We personally interviewed 3 different firms, the top 3 that were brought forward on the end of the last July meeting, I think the 24th of July. We had brought forward out of the 10, the top 3. We've narrowed those down via interviews, and the committee has chosen Bollig Engineering for a recommendation to move forward with the pre-design on this community center. I guess this is up for discussion. I included a memo with that recommendation also.
The city received like a $50,000 or something
Correct.
dollar grant to help
Yeah,
fund
and
this.
that grant expires on March 31st of 2024. So if we don't use it, we lose it. There's no extension. I don't know if you can talk to Bell, and it doesn't sound like there's any extension on that grant either. So this will be the time to use it. Our window's getting shorter here.
The panel too, we did a quick kind of vote of 1, 2, and 3, and we were unanimous in 1, 2, and 3. There was
yeah, it was
all 3 firms, but just gave awesome, presentations. I think Shane had mentioned that after the first presentation, it was like, well, okay, well that's hands down, and then the second one came in, well, that was interesting, and when Bollig came in, I think the clincher was that their commitment to fundraising is a major part of this, and so
Pretty solid.
they basically said if we are, after kind of going through the steps, come up with a number that's much higher than what we feel that we can accomplish, that they would take on the role of helping to find funds to meet that difference, and I think that's what pushed them over. They were the top of the 10 anyway, as far as grading, when we first did the grading too. There is their suggestions as far as what they were going to do in their proposal and the costs associated with it. And so what we put out in the RFP was exactly what they responded to, was 3 steps. We do not necessarily have to go through step 3 complete construction, obviously, until we know what that number is. But there is some overlapping of step 2 and step 3 where they can't give us a real firm number until they actually have gotten a lot more information of what that building is going to be constructed of and size of it and all the component parts. So we may get into a little bit of phase 3.
Yeah.
Can't hear you guys very well. I don't know if it's just Tom speaking softly or what.
Yeah,
So what is, any questions about the presentation, about the,
So, Tom, my understanding, you're right, that, let's say, we get into the planning stage and we start to get a little better picture of what the costs are ultimately going to be for a new building, that there is a point that we can pivot and kind of pivot to something else if it becomes apparent that we just don't have the money for new construction?
pivot, I would say, based upon that definition, I don't know, we'd be pivoting as much as we'd be saying we're pausing or we're going an entirely different direction. And yes, it sounded like we're not committing to the full 77,000 or whatever that, that included the complete build, start to finish.
Well, to me, if they're willing to help fundraise, that will put us over the top to get there with their fundraising help, whatever that number is.
Well, the thing is, if you look at their proposal, their number one is the stakeholder engagement, and it says right there that they're going to tabulate the findings to determine and recommend most viable option.
Yeah.
So they're not going in here saying they're 100% sure building new is the way we're going to go. They want to hear that from the committee, from the citizens, you know. Because at first I was not for doing another community survey because we've paid already for one. But I think time has gone along that we need to make sure that it's still what the community wants. And so if we have these engagements, you know, if people come, you know, that's what we're still going to have to decide. I'm not saying that we're not going to do a community center. It's just they might suggest a different option than new. They might suggest new. But that's what we'll first find out from them. Because, I mean, we have to quit kicking this can down the road. And the one thing we did say is that we would get them a hard number so they would know what they were having to look at.
Yeah.
I don't think the group should assume Bolig is going to be able to fundraise for $1 million building. I mean, they can't make that assumption and stop fundraising, but at least we're giving them that dollar amount. I mean, they've been looking for grants and that all along. It's not like they haven't been doing this stuff. Bolig will just be able to help supplement them. And I guess the main thing I want the committee to understand is the full price, the ticket price on this is $85,000. The grant is $50,000. The agreement was when we got to get them a hard number, that additional money, so $35,000 is going to come out of their coffers. It's not coming out of the city coffers.
I think that's been, I think, fairly well established here.
I do too, but I want it on the record because I don't want one person saying it came out of the city or it should come out of the city. It's not coming out of the city. It's coming out of that community center's funds that they've raised.
I think I said at a past meeting when we realized, I think it was after our budget meeting with Eric, that based on what I could see, we could not afford any more public monies going into this project.
And based upon our initial budget meeting, I think we've confirmed that.
Yeah, there's no money.
There's no money to
put
do
in
that. I guess my only concern with the resolution is the second line of that resolution, because it does state in here, the city council is committed to providing a new center for the community to replace the previous multipurpose center. And I think I don't know that that's established. Are we absolutely, as a council, committed
Can
to
we-
providing a new center?
Can we add a caveat to that? We are committed to providing a new center contingent on being able to come up with the funding outside of our.
And my question would go back to the same, are we? Are we committed? Even if they can raise all of the funds, are we committed?
Well, I think,
Past council was.
yeah, I was gonna say, I think
I
we
mean,
were.
how do we, if we drop off our support, I think then that weakens this entire project. If we say that we are committed to a new building contingent on being able to raise the funds.
I think we should drop new from it.
Just a community center.
I would be more in favor of that, because you're right. I mean, I think up to this point in time, we have been going on the basis of what was approved by prior council and their working group and some of the interaction there and some of the promises made. And I think there's not a universal community support of a new building, another building, and the maintenance of that building and the upkeep and the continued costs of it has never been addressed.
Well, whether we renovate something that's already there or we have a new building, there's still going to be maintenance costs.
The city.
But not the upfront expense.
There's going to be maintenance costs, and with a new building, there will be additional maintenance costs.
Like what?
We already own a building, or two, or three. So as long as we're not getting rid of one of those, none of those expenses are going to go away.
I'm still not understanding how a new building means it's going to be even more maintenance. Usually a new building has,
We do not have anybody, we're not paying anybody to do janitorial work on a building that doesn't sit there yet. And we're not paying any heat and lights on a building that doesn't sit there yet. And we're not
but,
up, you know.
but Tom, if we were to go and look at an alternative, such as renovating a building that already exists, there's still going to be maintenance, janitorial, heating, lights, that sort of thing.
Not if we change one that we already own.
You mean like our city hall?
Correct.
I see.
You're still gonna have maintenance, even if you use this building.
We have it. We're
Okay.
paying for it.
Okay, we can go round and round on this, and in another little over a year, we're going to have a turnover of council members again because of an election. And so the longer this goes, the more this could always change. So how about if we take out the word new? Just say providing, because you can look at the word new meaning two different things. A new build, or it's a new center. Even if it's right in this room, it's a new center for 'em. So it's all how you want to perceive the word new. And so if that's causing heartburn, maybe we need to think of a different word for the word new. Because this would be a new community center for 'em.
I'm okay with dropping that word new out of the foundation, but I want to emphasize that I am committed to getting a solution to our community center problem. I think we all are.
Yeah, I mean, I have at no
You know,
point in
so-
time said I don't think that we need, I think we desperately need to provide a permanent place
Yeah.
for our seniors and additional programs and opportunities and a place. We definitely, I think we owe that, and the sooner the better.
Yeah, right.
And delaying this by raising additional funds isn't going to help that.
So because we did have the multi-purchase center, when the bank transferred that to the city for $1, it was for the express purpose of having a place for the seniors. That was the whole entire reason that they believed it. Well, for $1. And we kind of chuck that out the window.
Well,
No,
Jan,
that was looked at.
Yeah, I've seen some newspaper clippings from that era and where the bank sold the building. I mean, it wasn't given.
No, but I thought it was for $1, or was it for more? It was for
I'll
more.
take that off.
Well, let's,
All right, but we're getting us.
I think I think that bears a whole different, this whole discussion. I think where we're at right now is, do we move forward with this resolution and engage this group to begin that RFP? Are we united in thinking that's a good step in that direction?
Shane, can we just scratch out the word new?
Yeah, we can amend
If I may, something,
the resolution.
incorporating what Jerry was saying about the $50,000, you may want to include this in the resolution, that the city will only pay for up to $50,000 towards the payment of this service, and the additional funds will come from the fundraising group. You might want to include that in this to make it clear. So if that's what you're thinking, I would suggest that.
While that's fresh, let's just make that motion. I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2023-77 with the change of crossing out the word new at this point, just cross out new, and with the addition of that $50,000 of the grant for $50,000 will be utilized for this RFP, and the additional $35,000 will come out of the the community center fund.
Well, and I don't, correct me if I'm wrong, Shane, if we're not almost moving dirt, we're not gonna get anywhere close to that 85. I mean, didn't that include follow through the whole construction phase?
Yep.
It's not just getting plans and specs. That's
No.
a complete engineering oversight of a building going up before we'd even get into that.
You should be able to get the cost estimate, the preliminary design meetings and all those done before you hit that 50,000 mark.
I was thinking
I
that
hope well
myself.
before that, yeah. Okay. Do I hear a motion for this resolution?
Well, Jerry did that.
Did you? Oh, I'm sorry, you did. Did we get a
Well,
second?
that's where I was fumbling through my verbiage.
And I'll second that.
Second, all right. Call for the vote.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Shones,
Aye.
Landay,
Aye.
Teagues,
No.
Arvisu,
Yes.
Mayor Carmen,
Aye.
and Pro Tem Mayor Dobson.
Aye. Right. Next.
All right, we got 7C, budget discussion. I put this on here, there's some questions at the budget workshop that I have some answers to. And then I have another question on another future workshop. There's a question on why the 2023 budget was expected negative. This is due to budget amendments. The expenditure values were updated, but not the revenues, so that's now fixed. There's also an extra expenditure amount too that was found in 2024. That's in 2023 that wasn't going to be expended in 2024. So there's an amendment that had to be made because there was a deer hit on the squad car that was paid for by insurance. Most of the values will get carried over from one year to the other automatically, then you have to amend them. Well, that one didn't get caught, so there's I think it was $23,000 on the police maintenance budget that didn't need to be there. So that helped the expenditure side. It's generally a $3,000 budget instead of a $26,000 budget. The police remodel and art project was taken out. I know they're looking between all of that, that brought a total savings up to 40,000 about in expenditures. When reviewing the revenue side, two issues were also found. There's 150,000 of water fund balance on the revenue tab that was put into the water fund tab. The other was that there's that $90,000 police state aid. That's actually a revenue in 2023 because it's coming in December, so it's not a 2024. So with that shift and everything, we don't have an overall deficit with those corrections. The CIP, the $135,000 in city ARPA funds would still be used for SCADA, and it would still leave the $180,000 in county ARPA funds available. The total available for discretionary, you can correct me if I'm wrong, Tyler, but it was $242,776. Does that sound right?
Sounds about right, yeah.
So that would allow us to do the pool features, replace the lawnmower, and
Fires?
But the turnout gear was coming out.
That's coming out of the
Turnout gear and library books.
grant.
And, oh yeah, Bell's library books were in there too, so those other three items were all covered under that, and that's on 5%.
Yep.
I just remember that there was 50,000 left over.
Have you
after-
come up here, Tyler, so they can
Oh,
hear
sorry.
you.
Maybe turn the microphone straight to
Squeak. I just remember when I did the 7% and we did all of the CIP, that there was 50,000 surplus. If we did a 5% increase, then we'd have a $20,000 surplus in the general fund. Approximately.
And that's without doing anything with any of the COVID funds, right?
It would stay, so the 135,000 that was earmarked for the SCADA with the city's ARPA funds would stay with SCADA, and then the 180,000 is still there for the county.
We wouldn't need any of those for any of these.
Yeah, and whether you need it for SCADA later, if that's what the council wants to do, we can. We're just kind of waiting for that grant, if we can get any grant money for that project. So.
And we were covering all of the capital expenditure needs.
Yep.
I just wanted to mention that
At 5% now, are we still talking 5%?
5% would cover it all. Yep,
I'll be honest, I want a meeting to look at these figures.
that sounds good.
Yeah, I think we need one more work group.
That was my next question. We had a resolution earlier in the year for the budget schedule back in
Probably March.
I'm not sure when this was. April 2023. So the first meeting in April, they adopted the budget. So on 9/18, they have a study session on the resolution already scheduled. If it says if necessary, so if that's what you want to do, we can still do that. So
It's just a very big swing
Yeah,
from
yeah.
what we were told at our last meeting to what we're being told tonight, that I just want to make sure,
yep.
I feel like we have our arms around it a little bit.
And I could explain that a little bit better. I had it just revenue and expenditures. I hadn't put in any spend down of fund balance, but it had been made clear this year and at the last meeting that you wanted to spend those ARPA funds, which we already received in past years, for the SCADA project. So then that means that we have to plan on that fund balance being spent down. So I put that into the revenue side because that's how it balances. It's not technically revenue. And then I had to do the same thing with that police grant. It's not revenue for next year, but we'd be spending down fund balance. So that was the main part of the big swing. And I also wanted to mention while I was here, I really would recommend trying to spend that ARPA money swiftly on like what is eligible, and then say we spend $50,000 on something else that we need, that was already planned, or that's already been spent, and then we just submit it for the grant. Then we have those funds available for SCADA later, if that makes sense. So, but if we don't end up spending it by, the current deadline is December 31st of next year. If we don't spend it and submit, hey, we spent it on this or that, then we end up having to maybe return the funds.
Getting it in our
Unless they have an
savings account
extension.
is better than having it in the county's checkbook.
So when we discussed this, and we did talk about if there were expenditures that we'd already had spent that would qualify, are you able to get a list for us? Because
We could brainstorm a little bit. I mean,
we would need to know, what have we spent that qualifies that could go in there, but we've already spent it. So, I understand the philosophy. We've already spent the money, so now we would still have this money available in our account.
Mm-hmm.
But what have we spent?
I thought we had to
That
bring
was
the,
qualifying.
I thought we had to bring the county some ideas of what we were going to use those funds for.
This is that we've already done.
The 130 that's sitting.
this is the other one, the 134, 135. But two things come to mind. One of the options is for the provision of government services to the extent of the reduction in revenue due to the COVID-19 public health emergency. Krista had filled out a spreadsheet, and she'd come to a number of over 50,000. And so we could spend over 50,000 on paying staff on whatever we want, because it's loss of revenue due to COVID-19.
Pool being shut down that year and
Yeah.
any number of other things.
Because I know those were some of the things we
Well, yeah.
discussed, but we need
a list.
dollar amount of
Liquor
a
store
list
was-
with
So,
this much money.
yep, I've got a dollar amount for the loss of revenue. And then another possibility I thought of was, it says you can respond to the public health emergency with respect to COVID-19 or its negative economic impacts, including assistance to households, small businesses, and nonprofits. And I wasn't sure about the wording there. Maybe Matt could help me out. But if we could do, like, in, what was it, 2016, we did a contract with the ambulance, $140,000 for the next, I think it was 5 years. If we could do something similar and have it go to this grant for the nonprofit.
Are they nonprofit?
I believe that ambulance services have to be a 501(c), so yeah, they are nonprofits. So they would qualify as a nonprofit.
You want to look into that?
Yeah, communicate with me, Tyler. We can look at the.
Sounds good.
Great
You
idea.
should be able to just look up the Tracy ambulance and see that they're a 501.
But does-
And also if it applies in the wording of this. So I think that would be a great option as well.
Well, if you could get some of that stuff put together.
Yep, I'll talk with Matt and we'll try to peg it down.
Yeah.
And if we can get all the info on like the 11th, then we've got a week to look at it, and then on the 18th we can meet again, and then you've got a week to finalize it. Or we've got a week to finalize it, because then we have to vote on it on the 25th, right?
Yep.
So are we doing another budget?
The 18th.
18th of September.
And where would you want to do that? Library again, or
That's
Yeah.
easier.
6 o'clock?
Cooler. 6
Perfect.
o'clock?
Fine with me.
Library at 6 o'clock on 9/18. Budget study session. Okay.
7D.
7D.
Send me a text of that.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, 7D, painting lines on Center Street. That the message with everybody today, I think I reached out to everybody individually. Pam wasn't able to look at it, but there's some lines painted on by the ambulance garage. There's been some discussion back and forth early on in the project about the bike lane widths, the driving lane widths, and they have to paint tomorrow, so that's why this was added on. It's kind of a urgent decision that has to be made here, so we can continue with meeting deadlines on the project. But, so originally proposed, it was an 8-foot bike lane. The state aid allows for a 6-foot wide bike lane, which would allow for a wider driving lane width. Currently, the way it's painted is a 6-foot bike lane, 2 11.5-foot driving lanes, and an 8-foot parking lane. Parking lane is on the west side of Center Street.
What's the size of that?
8 feet.
Is that standard?
Yeah,
8 foot, that's enough?
I think it's about what was there before. The driving lane is 6 inches narrower than it was prior. It was 12-foot driving lane prior to construction, so just a little bit narrower there, but you gained a bike path. So
My question is, do we need a 6-foot bike path, or could we cut that down to 4?
well, then you're riding on the gutter, so that creates an issue there.
Safety issue over there.
But you really don't have 4, you have 3 and a,
You don't want to hit a catch basin with a bike tire. It's never a good result. So
6 qualifies as for,
it's 4 foot of pavement and 2 feet of gutter. So on that 6 feet, so you still have 4 feet of
Riding lane.
pavement to ride on.
And that 6-foot bike lane, that's what you had painted on the pavement.
Yep.
I thought that looked fine.
Okay.
Yeah, I looked at it too, it looked good to me.
Wanted to create a visual, so.
Yep.
no, I thought that was fine.
So technically, we're just going for driving lanes, going from a 12-foot down to 11.5 foot each.
Yep. So it'll be
6 inches
on each lane.
each direction.
Yep.
So does this striping also include Second Street?
It does not. Second Street really wasn't decided on, a yes or no, but it was kind of an alternate. So it could be done anytime.
I just don't want a motion that then would suck in Second Street without a discussion.
Right.
With the exception of a oversized load, the widest vehicle can only be 110 inches normally. So that gives us 9.5 feet for them to drive, so that should work fine. 2 feet of spare.
No parking on the east side.
Right.
That'll be posted. Parking
And there was
on the
no
west.
parking before, so we'll just continue to do the same.
Same color then, or what do they do with the bike lane?
I think it's still white, they just have bike symbols.
Okay.
on it, so.
Do we have a motion, need a motion for that, or
I
do
would
we
just do a motion.
I'll make a motion that we go ahead with the road painting, road striping as described by Shannon.
I'll second that.
Second, any other discussion, questions? Roll call?
Arvisu,
Yes.
Schoenz,
Aye.
Landite,
Aye.
Teigs,
Aye.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Mayor Corman,
Aye.
and Pro Tem Mayor Dobson.
Yes.
Probably be painted by tomorrow afternoon.
Nice.
Good.
The speed limit will stay the same.
Yep.
What is the speed limit?
30.
30?
Department head reports then?
Yeah,
Tyler?
left. Jeff left. I'm always last, so.
All right. Budget's going well. I've actually gone quite a bit into the budget narrative. Like we end up having that book that's this thick in the end, and so I've been working on all the text of that, updating it, and that's going well. And camping revenue has been down quite a bit from last year, similar to 2021. It just went really high in 2022. Utilities are up from last year, about 12,000 in the month of July. The liquor store had lower sales in July when compared with last year. That's even taking into account the change in how we recognize sales tax. So a little bit lower, not a huge amount, but a little bit lower, a few thousand, after taking into account the sales tax. And then in the licensing, DMV, revenue from charges for services was just slightly lower in July when compared with last year. And we got that one-time funding of $8,000 from the state. I kind of been hoping it was going to be like 20,000 or something, but I guess the city does a lot more. The big cities do a lot more than we do. So, but $8,000 free.
We'll take it.
Any questions?
The camping revenue decline, would you attribute that to the hot weather or?
Construction? No, I would contribute that to, RNG's been our contractor, and they have mostly local people versus done it before where they had basically taken over half the campsites.
Sure.
So, and then they also had that gas project, NPL, from like 2018, 2019, I think into early 2020, where they had a whole bunch of people out there too, for their staff staying. So as projects come and go, I'm sure the wind energy, if that gets going soon, they'll change things too.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Questions? Thank you. Jeff?
Okay, I put a couple things in the packet for you. I was going to have Jessica here tonight. Oh, go ahead. Where's she talking?
Say Pam. Say Pam.
She's talking to Elvis.
Pam, can you hear us?
She's too busy having fun.
Does someone have your cell phone? I don't have my phone with me. Because someone could text her and ask her to use her phone.
Better to shut down your volume.
But if she asks a question, we can't hear.
That's okay.
I don't know if she'll see my text.
Well, she's on her phone to the meeting.
But I mean, will she go
Is she,
to the
though?
text?
Say Pam.
All right.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Talk a little,
Talk
talk a
loud.
little louder.
Talk loud. I can do that.
She's not participating.
Okay, the swimming pool update is in there. I was going to have Jessica come in here tonight because I wanted her, because she wasn't going to be here in September, able to be here in September due to schedule, and then she got called into her other job tonight also. So she apologizes that she couldn't be here because I was going to have her go over that piece of it. But as you can see, with the pool revenue and expenditures and everything in there is, I don't know, is there any questions on some of it? I mean, I've got some things checked that there's still a week's worth of employee salaries that aren't in there yet. She just couldn't be here when it was going to be completely done. So I just kind of wanted her to go over it and just to give her that experience. But right now, seasonal employee wages were about $7,000 short, but I had to do payroll today for one full week. And we were open that last week. We were open a week later this year also. So that's going to affect a lot of things, not only concessions but payroll a little bit too. One of the things that we under budgeted for was the training. It was since we had so many new employees with the Red Cross, we had nearly $4,000 in training. So we'll look at the budget for 2024. We'll probably budget for at least $1,000 less on that, considering I think we're going to have quite a few people coming back this coming year. Operating supplies, we've done pretty well, and they should be just about done. Repair and maintenance supplies should almost be done. We did well there. Concessions, we budgeted the concessions without the pizzas, so add $29.90 every day for pizzas that we sold, and that's where the over on the concessions was. But even with that, we are under budget there. And if you look at the bottom one on the first sheet, if yours looks just like mine, the utility services is at $17,763 so far. That was through July, so we still have August, and that'll be a big one yet in there, because it's always going to be. But then September, October, November, December, you just have to pay for the service to be out there, and so it drops considerably. So we should be looking quite good on that. I will do either in September, October, do the update on the whole thing, but since I had it on here, I just wanted to go over it with you, and actually I wanted her to, but again, she got called into work. I think she did a fantastic job this year, considering with the help that we lost, not only at the pool itself, but here in the office here and the manager being out there. Yes, there was some issues, when you're employing 22 teenagers, and with the issues that a pool goes along with a pool, there was plenty of issues, but nothing that she didn't handle. Her communication skills were fantastic. If there was a problem that she needed, she would call and we would go over it, but otherwise she handled a lot herself. I'm looking forward to having her with a year of experience this coming year. We already spent about 2 hours out there last week going through every nook and cranny about what needs to be done. It's a few small things, garbage cans, new garbage cans, and a couple things like that we might have to get. But different ways of doing things, she's got some ideas. I was, as you can tell, I was real happy with how she did this year. So, any questions on that piece of it there? And I will give you all an update, even if it's by email, in the next when it all closes out.
Jeff, what's your feeling on, and what's Jesse's feeling on what we're charging for our passes and our daily admission?
They're going up slightly, all of them. Tyler and I already went over that. We're going to add some on there. It's not going to be a considerable amount because we took a couple jumps the last couple of years, but we are going to add, even if it's $5 to swimming lessons, and we just want to keep up with everybody else. And we've discussed a lot of things with other pools. Go ahead.
Does the public perceive a good value for what they're paying now?
It is, as long as it's open the whole time, and we had very little issues this year, so we had not very many complaints on the prices. Last year there was a little bit more because we had to be shut down a few times because of unforeseen issues, but I think we offer a great value for what we offer out there. Okay. Before I get into the closeout, I know Tam's not here and she wanted to be, but the committee, whatever you want to call it, unofficial committee between Diane and I and Tam and Tyler, we went through and closed out the Burgers, Bands, and Brews and the Aloha Night. So I'll just get into those right now. So if you've got that pulled up in front of you, Burgers, Bands, and Brews first, we had ticket sales of $3,676. And we had donations or sponsorships of $9,700. In our total expenses was $6,377, which left us about 93 cents shy of $7,000 that we are able to give away. We talked about it at our last meeting just a couple of days ago, late last week. So the donate last year, I don't believe that we ever brought it to the city council as for donations or anything like that. I think we just went ahead and took care of it. But even though the city, this is a city-sponsored event, both of them are. But on that particular one, we decided as a group that we were going to give the $3,500 to the Tracy Area Community Foundation, which put the most help into that, which they did almost all of that. Which is one of the things that I'm a part of. And then we're going to, with the limited help that we got from the Parks Committee, but we still felt that they were on the board there, so we're going to give $500 to the Parks Committee also. So that would consist of that the money that we're going to be giving away. So the rest of that would go to basically to the liquor store to make the liquor store P&L look good.
Hopefully the sign. We talked about the sign.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's right. I'm sorry. I know you guys are working right now on the potential of a sign out there. We're looking at the prices on that right now, and I haven't been a part of that at all, but there would be 4,000, so it'd be just about $3,000 for a sign out there. That's money available. That wouldn't cost the taxpayers any money. So something we'll look into. Any questions on that one? Okay. We did look at putting I contacted a couple of the bands to maybe upgrade for this coming year. And bands are expensive, so we'll have to reevaluate that next spring. The one we had talked about was $13,500 for one band. Yeah, they would have brought in a crowd, but it would have needed to be a big crowd.
Yeah.
So, Aloha Night. One of the things that, just to refresh your memory, is we had raffle tickets, so we had to run that through the Eagles. So that money has to be given away immediately. So we gave $1,145 to the lights for the baseball field at the high school. So that was already been given to them, and so they've created an account for it, and I guess they've already got some in there also. But it's just a start, kind of a some nice money to start what they really want to do out there, what really needs to be done eventually. So nothing we can do with that, and then with the rest of the money, there's $1,303 that would be left over that we don't really have nothing that we talked about as a use. So again, possibly going back to the liquor store and maybe even the sign on that. We can talk about that.
I'm confused with the dollar amounts.
Donation plus ticket sales minus expenses was $1,300. The raffles or the raffle tickets are totally separate.
Oh,
Totally, you got to keep those completely separate.
so the raffle tickets.
We're $1,145. We have $1,303 left over that we haven't earmarked for anything.
And I think you mentioned the Aloha Night, consideration of merging it with Burgers, Bands and Brews, or because we had a conflict with other things going on that night, it just decreased our attendance.
For that night, but it was within the group, though. It was kind of decided we'd like to keep it separate. It's a lot of work, but you can see that we're paying for everything, with including the lifeguards in there. Everything is in there, including Diane's wages and lifeguard wages and everything. So we'll give it another. Hopefully, it'll be planned a little bit. Well, I know not. Hopefully, it will be planned better, and we've already talked to the chamber about that also. If you didn't know, that night we had, I think it was 55 or 60 tickets sold, and the year before it was 118, I believe, 125, and so it was considerable less. But they were, I think they seen that they had less people out there also, and then we had people that showed up and then only stayed for a little while and went out and weren't able to enjoy the whole night either. So we wanted to get that closed out before September got here, so we could, move on. Any questions with either one of them?
So what is the idea on the 1303 then?
There is no idea right now. Yep. For me, it would be taking a look at that and what the sign is going to cost. That again, I haven't been a part of that discussion.
That was for the money from the Burgers Bands. We would do the Aloha
Yeah.
Night.
So we did not discuss with the 1,300 on the other side. It's a city-sponsored event. It's yours. We just didn't know. I'm positive that we didn't bring it to you as approve because that's who helped us with that would be the Tracy Area Community Foundation. We give them a certain amount of money, and then that's just good anyway, because they turn around and give it all out right away. We're going to give that away this fall.
Suggestions, comments, anything about the 1303? Put that towards the sign too, or?
If you want to let me work on what that sign's going to cost, and I'd have to be a part of that. I have not been a part of that discussion at all, so we can
Keep it in their back pocket for now. You never know. There might be something that comes along in the next couple of weeks that'd be a good thing to do.
just wanted to show you the closed out amount, and it's a lot of work, it's a lot of hard work, it's a lot of time for everybody, including, you know, staff members and community members, but I think it brings people to town, and I think as long as you be consistent with it, it will continue to do the same thing. We were blessed with good weather on both nights again. Knock on wood for next year. Yeah. Couple of things that I want to mention, or actually just one more thing I want to mention for sure is I talked about it the last time. I sent in the information today on that extension on that EDA national grant for the social media and website help for people. We've got about $60,000 left in that account. That the only snag we're running into right now is, as of today, I've got to have Shane get involved because he has to sign some paperwork. So that's it right now. He feels that we asked for a 15-month till January of 25 or December 20, you know, yeah. So just to give us that extra 15 months is what we're looking for.
And we still have the 2 people.
We have 3 people working for us right now. Yep, and I'm looking for one right now. I mean, it doesn't matter. It's not a hiring by the city or anything like that. It's just a contract employee that fills out a W-9 and you know, and they can do the work.
Good.
So if you know of somebody that can do the work, it's $40 an hour.
It's a pay cut for you, George.
Yeah.
Okay.
I wish I could be able to tell you tonight. I was really hoping so that about the small cities development grant that we applied for. That was for $900,000, I believe, was what the number was, minus administrative costs for the homeowners, and then it was another $300,000 or so for a total with administration costs and everything, $1.4 million. Here's what I can tell you: they're sending me to a training class.
So they better give you the money.
Take that for what you.
Yeah, you take that for what it's worth, but. I think it's September 26th. I'm at a one-day class in, I don't know how much more since I've gone through it already, but they wanted, I got invited to that class. So.
That's encouraging.
If we do end up getting that grant, what would be the earliest that people would be able to apply for?
I would say it would be March. Yeah, March, as soon as it warms up a little bit. I do have something to add on to that. I'm sorry. We're up to, I believe it's 180,000 in that CDBG with monies coming in and money that's sitting there. UCAP is encouraging us. That money is for that particular program. We offered up for the new program, if it comes in, $75,000 to give out as loans. That would all come back to us. But they're suggesting that we've got way too much money in that account to use it. Maybe add a couple houses to the project, or even this year, maybe even, you know, which would take a budget amendment because we'd be using the money that's there for that. Possibility. I'm going to be going over that with the EDA a little bit at the September 6th meeting. So. Possibility of giving a couple houses here in town, maybe if there's some extreme cases or something, which would all be taken care of by UCAP also. They would administer it, they would do the inspections, they would just they'd be with me.
Those particular homes you're talking about, they cannot be contract for deed, they have to be.
Cannot be contract for deed, no. They have to be under ownership. They can owe on it.
Yeah.
That's not a big deal. But yeah, can't be under contract for deed and have to be all the regulations and the type of money that they're bringing in as a household income is a lot with that. So I'm working on that.
Can it be for a rental home?
No. Well, yes, if the rent or the person that owns the house, or that is the renter, if they meet the qualifications of the income. probably isn't gonna happen. Okay,
Anything else?
I think I'm up next.
All right.
Shane's done.
Oh, okay,
Yeah, you gotta sit down.
thank you.
Rest your legs.
Let someone else talk.
Thank you, Jeff. All right.
Well, I'm usually a lot quicker than Jeff, so. I guess I'd say I sent the report out. As normal, there's a lot of things going on, I guess. They are starting the pool liner project tomorrow. They're here a little bit early, so they didn't plan on starting until after Labor Day, but they got done with another job. They arrived today, we kind of walking through the project, and sounds like 7 in the morning they'll be here to start on that, so we'll see some action there. So everybody knows, we do have the fly-in breakfast on Monday, starting from at 7, going till 11 a.m. It's $10 for adults, $5 for children, and I'm not sure what the cutoff is for some. They're young enough, they're free too, but come out to the airport, I guess, if you like to eat pancakes and sausages and eggs. I'll have that Monday morning. They do have Vanguard again this year, weather permitting. Sanford's going to have 1 or 2 aircraft there, the way it sounds. I'm going to do the flyover. So lots of stuff going on there. It's,
We in, excuse me, are we in, set up to show kind of what we're doing for the hangars? I mean, do we have any sketches or anything?
So Bollig has been there the last 5 years for a fly-in, and they have, they're going to be sitting outside with kind of the future airport development.
Okay.
Kind of what's planned, and some of it's a wish list, but at least keeps the public informed. And we do have quite a bit more sponsors this year too than we've had in prior years, so that's helping us with the fundraising side of it. So you say it all helps reduce taxes. It's more money that can be raised on this event, the less has to be subsidized for future projects down the road. So there is an employee picnic at Friday, 6 to 11:30. So council members want to come down.
Down here at City Hall by the
Where it
hallway
was
there.
last year?
11:30?
Same place as last year.
On when?
Friday.
Friday.
Coming Friday?
This coming Friday.
I work on Fridays.
You can watch everybody setting up the tents and hauling
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
mopping
Did
gear.
he say 11:30?
It was all up last year.
No, you have to sit and watch it.
What'd you
Yeah,
say,
no,
what'd you
it's-
say, 11?
11:30. Yep. Okay. Anything else?
Other than that, I guess I'll entertain any questions you may have.
How much water was the pool leaking on a daily basis?
It was hot. Between the leakage and the evaporation, we're just a little over 40,000 gallons a day for a 24-hour period. So we had a bigger leak that we actually visually see. So for about 3 or 4 days, we were at 48,000 gallons a day. We were able to reduce that substantially. Now doing a walk around, after we got everything drained and emptied out, we're finding a lot of tears and, just small little things that will add up to a large amount. Just for precautionary reasons, so we don't find out next year, I plan on running a camera through some of our pipes too, just to make sure that there isn't another contributor too. But we did find quite a few defects in the liner just walking through in 5 minutes.
So is this something we should put on our radar for 15 years from now, so we
I
know?
did ask that question today. He said the liner material they have now is a little thicker than what they had 20 years ago. But he said 15 years easily. Just depends on your chemicals, your water, sunlight, and winters. And we're in a harsh environment. We get about 150 degree temperature swing from one end to the other. So the stuff expands and contracts just like any polymers or anything like that. So that doesn't do anything much good. Put a roof over it, probably lasts forever.
Yeah.
But that expands and contracts too, so. There's no wind on it. Just eventually it's gonna have to get replaced, so.
But this new liner will take care of the leakage problem.
It better.
Yeah.
A lot of it for sure. If there's a piping issue, just wanna look at it now, because there's this lining company in town. If we do find a crack, we can time to find it.
There you go. All right.
We have had cracks in the past. You get a freeze thaw cycle and something gets jammed up, and you don't really know until you have a leak. But we don't really suspect that because it held water all winter. We have to fill it half full so the frost doesn't push the pool out of the ground. So, and it's not like it's empty 4 or 5 days later because at that rate it's going to leak.
Is this a 3-week project too, they figure?
It's going to be, well, for sure 30 days. Yep. So, it'll be finished up by the end of October, easily. Just weather permitting, if they get a rain day, it's going to set them back a day. But perfect. Sounds like the heat doesn't bother them. We've been complaining, it sounds like to be 90 plus.
Well, you guys,
a week, and
It's probably nice for them.
like, oh, that's what it is in Florida.
good job jumping on those alleys after that water that we finally
I
had.
haven't had much time as far as.
If you hadn't hit it then, you wouldn't have hit it again, probably.
No, because a day later it was like concrete again.
Yeah, no, it looked great.
So,
Good job.
I'm sure there's potholes in them again, but I don't see it rain in the next 10 days again, so no. I guess the only other thing I just want to, most people have seen that Phase 382 is paved. I got a few punch list items to do. Some sod warranty work to do in some areas in 382, and the sod finish now in the center. They had a little bit left on the north end earlier today, but and they're going to be watering that. Probably
They had two
easily till
trucks.
end of next week.
I would hope the city would be able to collect a little bit for the water they use, just to make our residents stand all that cost.
Yep.
Shane, excuse me, on Center Street, looked like a lot of the trees that were left along Center Street, a lot of them had to be, some of them anyway, had to have their roots trimmed quite a bit. Are we gonna lose some of those trees in coming years?
We've had that happen in a lot of our different projects. Very seldom have they died.
Okay.
Depending on the tree. If you get, a shallow root tree and you start chewing a bunch of the roots out, you got a good chance that you may not make it, but a lot of these trees are well established and probably not
Okay.
gonna see a big change, but time will tell.
And then one question on the water tower. Now we got the exterior cleaned recently. How many years is it going to be before we have to clean the inside? What was that? Maybe 7 years ago that we had the inside?
That was it was recoated then, it was rehab. We've actually cleaned it twice since then. And we got another cleaning scheduled, I think, for 4 years from now. There isn't much to clean. Tower's down for 2 days. Right now, they kind of wanted to do it this year, but they sent an ROV, which is remote operated vehicle, little remote controlled sub, basically, down in there. They dip it in chlorine, and disinfect it, and send it through. They take underwater video of everything and current There's a little bit of sediment at the bottom, but nothing to be concerned with. It's pretty common to have some sediment.
Yeah.
So, water mains being changed out and, different, with the projects being between the water plant and the water tower, to knock some things loose and prefer to move up in the tank. So we do have a sludge valve that we can drain periodically to remove some of it.
Tower looks great though.
But until the SCADA's upgraded, I'm a little reluctant to have SCADA running that and keeping pressure on everybody's building to run that risk of it failing. Because there's really nothing to fall back on once the tower's empty. You've got pumps. So, but the tower you can get by with, some downtime, for a few hours while you get it back on. But there's no room for error.
Any other questions for Shane?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I did send out 12 more weed notices last week. New ones.
All right. Food shelf leaves.
I recommend that if any of you haven't gone over to our food shelf lately, that you do so and go introduce yourself to Margaret Palin. Spend as much time with her as you can, because that lady is going to heaven, and you want to hold on to her hand. Maybe she'll take you with. No, she's fantastic. No, she is, and I was thinking, she's just putting this on. No, them and the crew over there, just, and this isn't really a part of what I'm asking for here, but just unbelievable over there. I guess I've donated, but I've never really seen what the operation is over there, and to what they do. And you've seen in the email that I asked for her to send to you how much good she does, and that's not going to get any better. I don't know how you want to look at it, as worse or better. The food shelves are going to be more prevalent. They're going to need all the help they can get. So, just to give you a little bit of an update, we have had a ongoing agreement with UCAP that they don't pay any kind of rent over there on the backside of the fire department over there. And in the last, I think it was 6 years ago, Shane helped me out, 6 or 7 years ago, they put in central air over there. This year. That was this year that they put in. They paid for that themselves. Right now there is an issue. There is as you walk in the door, there's a hole in the cement, and you can look down in there. You can see where the ground is caving away underneath, which can't help the building itself at all. And I haven't got any bids or anything like that, but just talking to a couple of contractors and a couple of people that know what they're talking about better than I do for sure, that you could be looking at somewhere around $10,000 to fix that problem. That's not a number I'm giving to you what it's going to be, but it could be that much, because Shane, you've been into that crawl space before, and everything is given away. It needs new rebar, new cement, everything's going to need to be torn out of there.
Yep.
The good news is, the bad news is our building. The good news is the state of Minnesota right now has a program out there that whether the UCAP owns it or not, they have the funds that they're going to apply for that would fix the problem, even if they don't own the building. So we could have as much as potentially a $10,000 fix without it costing the taxpayer any money, or cutting someplace else. One thing they do need to be able to go ahead and fill out that grant is they need at least a 5-year lease at $0. So I guess I'm just asking if we can have Matt draw up a 5-year lease for that building. If you just seen what went on that day, and if you look at the figures that are in here, and the number of adults, the number of families that are using that on a weekly basis, and not just from here but from all around the area, it's important. And another thing I found out from Margaret is we're looking at LSS and the possibility. They serve as many as 60 meals a day over there frozen. They have a freezer that's dedicated to LSS. So Lutheran Social Services is giving out meals here in town. They're just frozen. So it's just all in all, it's clean over there. It's you know, it's a food shelf, but you could eat off the floor. And with the volunteers that they have over there, and they were all of them are there that day. I got to meet them, and because they had a little birthday party for one of the volunteers over there. But it's as what I could see, it's a well-run situation. She actually has 4 places. She has one in Huron Lake. She has one in Redwood Falls. She has one in, I think she's the one in Marshall, and then in Tracy. So we're very lucky to have them here in town.
So is the lease for the food shelf or for UCAP?
UCAP is the food shelf.
But I mean, if we're writing up a lease, do we set it for the Tracy food shelf?
Yeah, I would say the Tracy food shelf, but there's someplace in there would have to be the UCAP name. I can get that information for her. I'm just looking for, so they don't lose out on this money.
I'll make the motion that we do a 5-year contract with the Tracy food shelf for $0.
I'll second it.
First and second, any other discussion or questions?
Are they paying their own utilities?
No, we pay their utilities. I don't know if it's separate. Is it separate from the fire hall, or is it a same meter?
I think there might be a separate gas meter, but the city pays for the gas and electric there. The water sewer is all connected to the fire hall, so electric's all on meter.
Any other questions?
I've been told that the use rate has gone up quite a bit in the last few months.
And I've volunteered over there before. It is one of the nicest food shelves I've ever volunteered. I've been at a lot of them, and the quality of what they get for food often at food shelves that I've been a part of, it's people look through their pantry and pull out all of the stuff that's outdated and bring it in a bag and say, here, give this away. And no, this stuff is, the produce is
and
wonderful.
Produce and
Meat. And they provide then a number of boxes that go out to shut-ins that aren't getting initially. So great organization.
we should be pretty proud that we're sponsors of that.
So we got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Call for a roll call.
Jones?
Aye.
Tiggs?
Aye.
Landay?
Aye.
Schmidt?
Yes.
Arvisu?
Yes.
And Pro Tem Mayor Phelps?
Yes.
Call you in the next couple of days. Yep.
Jeff. Price for sale of Sebastian lots.
Stay here. So one of the things that, and this is my fault, I didn't, after we had talked about selling those lots on Sebastian, we didn't talk about price. You know, on the ones that are owned by the EDA, we've talked about prices, but I think that we need to, you know, and we've talked about UCAP possibly putting up those 2 houses here in, you know, that we applied for that grant with them. So there's a chance of that coming in sometime in 24 or 25, you know, where we would have to, you know, that's our part of it, is we'd have to give them those lots for those houses. But for the lots down at Sebastian, those 2 lots that we can put in there, we did not discuss a price. So I put off the realtors putting up a sign until I found out what you want to ask for that.
Are you talking the 2 lots like by George's?
Yes, right across the street, yep.
I personally don't feel we can give them away, but I think we need to keep the price low enough so somebody will come and get them, and we can get that house or houses on the tax base as quick as possible. If you put too high a price, then they hem and haw and he haw.
I think it should be the same as what was out at, why am I forgetting?
Broad Acres.
Broad Acres.
And what was that price?
There was 1 lot, and each side got charged $12,500.
12.5.
It's
Yep.
25 for a lot.
Yeah, 25 for, yeah, but it would be not that big of a lot. I mean, those were huge lots out
But
there.
I think the location of these 2 is worth that price. I would say we put them out there for 25.
Oh my.
The only thing I would caution would be is if we're going to ask 25, I think we would need to do some work on the lots to make them of that value. Because somebody's going to have some cost in grubbing out all of those bushes and trees and everything else. They're not buildable, pristine lots like some others we've had.
Dave, would you like me to measure the lots out there and then measure one of those lots and then take the 25,000 by the percentage of what that is? Is that a good suggestion?
Well, the lots that there, I thought you said they were 100 by 110 or something.
120 deep, 110 wide, or
Yeah.
100 wide.
100 wide.
And maybe $5,000 doesn't make a difference when you're buying a lot.
Well,
To me,
they're not costing us anything today. Why do we want to just
The ones
essentially give them
that.
away?
Yeah, I don't want to give them away.
That's not giving them away, though. Say you said 10,000.
They're 100 wide, 120 deep.
You also, I think you got to look at the lot to the east is going to be more desirable than the lot to the west. I mean, that's going to mean something.
But there still has a lot of trees.
Do we want to,
Bulldozer takes care of that in 15 minutes.
yeah, I'm just
When you're building.
talking out, do we want to run that through EDA and have a recommendation from EDA or not?
It's city-owned. You know, that's the, EDA has
Actually,
to,
everything else is.
it's up to you.
So you said the EDA set the price for the,
The ones that the EDA own, like the one next to the, I'm just gonna, if you know where the United Methodist Church is, or the parsonage, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Parsonage, that has got a $10,000 price on it. Yeah, so that's really and then the ones on Second Street there, the two down there, I believe are at 13. I think it's 26 for all of it, or 13, I'd have to look back.
That sounds right.
Yeah, that sounds, I thought we'd,
All right, do we want to set a number, send it back to
I'd make a
EDA?
motion to set the price on those lots at Sebastian Park at 25,000. We can argue about it from there.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Any other discussion? I mean, setting a price doesn't mean we can't take a lower offer, but we can't go up. Right?
I think that 25,000, it's prime location, the utilities are in, the streets in, and compared to when we developed Eastview, that's almost 30 years ago, those lots, they were 17,000 is what they were originally marketed at. Now it's a bare lot. And then new development.
And it's that empty.
Yeah, right, but
So you lowered the price for someone to buy.
yeah.
This is what I'm trying to get you to understand. We need to get it down there so they build. How many years would it take to get tax dollars back? Say you sold it for 10,000 or 12.5 or whatever, something like that. And they built a $400,000 house. How long would it take to get tax money coming in to help cover the cost of that lot?
if they paid for all of the tree removal, the bush removal, and the hookups and everything, if they took care of all that, a part of their cost, you know, you'd get on a $400,000 house, you'd be looking at just city taxes of $3,400. So 4 years down the road, 4 years would, that's not the way city finances work, but 4 years you'd have, you know, that extra $12,000 to cover it. You're not going to get, even if you ask 25, you're not getting that. The minimum amount a realtor's going to ask for is $1,500 just to sell it, to put their sign out there.
It's complicated. Because, you know, when you say your levy amount is what, so your values are gonna determine the pieces of the pie for that levy amount. So you're kind of just shifting around. So you put a new house in, it's not gonna bring any more money in, but it's gonna raise the values, you know, where, so say a house with lesser value is going to be taxed less than a newer one. But say those values just get moved around. So you're still leveling. If you're going to levy, you know, $900,000 a year, it's still just going to be split upon everybody, that $900,000. So the county will get a piece, the school gets a piece. So it's just a big puzzle. I mean, it's hard to determine, you know, what that actual value is to bring it back in.
And Dave, you're right. it's not costing us nothing to have it there, but we're not getting nothing for it either.
Until somebody walks in and says they wanna build a house there, and then we have 25,000 plus taxes.
But you are spreading the burden out on another property. You know, the more properties you have with a higher value, the more that tax burden gets spread out.
Yeah.
So,
George, years ago, when we developed Eastfield, after about a year or two, they came to us and said the original break-even cost of a lot there with all the infrastructure we put in, purchasing the land, et cetera, was $15,500 per lot. I think we maybe sold a couple lots at that price. Do you remember that, Seth? You're nodding your head. And then the EDA came to us and said, well, can we drop the price down to, I think it was either 7,000 or 7,500? And so I asked Audrey, well, then how long is it going to take us to recover? Because the rest of the taxpayers are basically subsidizing that initial cost of the land, or the lots, okay? She said 19 years. And actually, we didn't sell all that many at 7,000 or 7,500. Pretty soon they started going down and down until, I don't know, the last couple of lots were, what, 1,500 or 2,000?
And that's what we do have to quit doing. Because then someone buys them cheap, and then down the road, now we have no lots to sell.
Right.
And so now we're back to trying to find more places to build. If the lots don't sell right away, we can't panic. Because, I mean, I'm not saying the 25 is the right number here or anything. I mean, this is where Dave said this is where the discussion starts.
You have a
You know,
proposal?
but
No, I don't. I guess I just was discussion on Dave's
I mean, but
motion.
what do you think would be a good price?
Well,
Yeah, I don't know.
I think with what's got to be done, and especially if they're paying for the street work, you know, to get hooked up in the street, they got to dig that up, tar it and whatnot. 10,000 should be fine, especially on a lot we don't owe anything on. Now, the Eastview where we
Then
owed
we
money on,
developed it, yes, and that was a big
so
bond.
that's different, in my opinion.
But when you buy a lot, when we bought our lot, there was a house on there. We knew it was going to be our expense to pay to knock that house down and get everything hauled out and everything. We didn't get it cheaper because we had that house on it. It was our choice to pay that price knowing we were going to have those additional costs. And it had to get figured into the whole thing. I don't see trees and bushes being any different than a vacant house that we had to knock down.
They're not, but if individuals are looking at lot prices and deciding which community to build in, all of that will go into that. And if they can buy a $20,000 lot or 15 in Valentin that's all cleared, and they're still same school district, and they're still same distance from Marshall where they work and whatever. I mean, we're in competition much wider than Tracy.
So do we know what the area,
They're 14 to 17,000, the ones out around the golf course or near the golf course here that are all for sale, 14 to 17. Marshall's, that new set that goes right along Highway 7 or 23, they're 43,000. They're like what I was telling you, that it's depending on how big the lot is. So you figure out what you want for it, but then if you put a twin home on it, you know, they share the cost. But then if the lot gets smaller because you're putting a single family home, then you would charge less. Like Benton just sold 4 lots themselves down in Lake Benton. They put 6,000 on the lot, or you could buy 2 lots, and they sold 4 of them this summer. And they have a contract, just kind of like we have, where if you don't build there within 2 years, they have to sell it back to you they put half price. We put 80%.
But then we need to enforce those contracts.
Yeah.
So there's a motion on the floor. There's a second. Anybody want to do anything else? Questions? All right.
Can you just read what the motion is for me, please?
With the lots for sale at 25,000 a lot.
For the 2 lots at Sebastian. And they'd be the 100 by 120?
Yeah, I think that's what it was, yeah. Of course, you gotta realize I gotta, I'll negotiate the best I can with the realtor. So there's a percentage that comes off of that, and there's surveying and everything, but
I get it.
All right. Barring any other discussion, let's call for a roll.
Landite,
No.
Jones,
Aye.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Arvisu,
Yes.
Teigs,
Aye.
and Hotel Landite.
No, we already did.
Did I do? Yes, I did.
Yeah.
Pro Tem Mayor Dobson.
Yes.
now remember, they can always come back, once it's listed, then they can come back and say, this is what happened to one of our lots out there at Broad Acres. They came back and then you accepted whatever their offer was, so there's always that. That's just the price, so. And I'll get those up, they'll be up by October. We do not need to do the surveying until we were to sell one of the lots.
Shane,
We'll
you
need a
took,
resolution on that though before we can
Yeah.
actually list them.
okay.
I don't know if
I
there's
thought,
probably a public hearing too, isn't
No, not until.
to sell them, to actually sell them once we find a,
Once I sell them.
there? So, okay.
So what do we need now?
We'll bring a resolution to
Oh,
the next
gotcha,
meeting for you to
gotcha.
approve on that.
Need the real paperwork.
Mhm.
Before I lose sight of, do we need to do anything this temporarily with that crack hole over there?
They got a cone on it. All right. It's not the full width, but
Anybody falling and tripping or over at the food shelf, there's,
it's a crawl space underneath it.
Did you put
well,
a
is
photo?
is that the old tunnel?
No,
Okay.
tunnel is further east. Tunnel's buried, but no, that I actually crawled in the crawl space and I could see out the hole, so I know exactly where it is. But
Because, I mean, we roll across there with carts and we've got high school kids carrying boxes of canned goods in and out of that thing. I don't want anybody stepping in that thing if we can do something.
Well, could we just put a plate over it? A metal plate?
it's got one there now, except for it doesn't come out far enough to,
I'm gonna take a
just
look.
get it fixed.
Just take a look and see.
if we could get it fixed for somebody else paying for it, it would be all right.
All right.
I'll update you on that too.
New business. I think you're up, Jason.
Waiting patiently.
I gave you an option 2 hours ago.
So, the resolution is for a joint powers agreement with the Bureau of Criminal Apprehension. Same thing I've put forward, it's pretty standard. We've done this how many times? It's like every 2 or 3 years we have to have this same exact agreement. The only thing different this year is that the BCA has structured a new payment, monthly billing for the services that they provide. Now, their wording isn't clear as to if each individual city is going to be getting it, which is kind of how it reads, but it's $50 a month. And it's just for the cost of having access to the information that they're providing. So even if we do start receiving bills for it, it's pretty minimal. So, it's kind of the cost of doing business today, I guess. So the resolution itself is not any different than what it has been for the last few years.
Okay. Any concerns, questions, or anything?
No, it's almost a requirement for Jason to do his job to have this in place, so it's needed.
Because you're in here on behalf of the city
Yes,
attorney.
yes.
Last chance.
Holding you to it.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make that.
I'll second that.
All right, motion and second for resolution 2023-78, approve state of Minnesota joint powers agreements with the city of Tracy on behalf of its attorney, city attorney, and police department. Let's call for roll.
Teigs,
Aye.
Arvisu,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Jones,
Aye.
Landite.
Aye.
Pro Tem Mayor Dobson.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Can that all be signed tonight then? Or
Yep.
I'm supposed to have it in by the first of the month, so.
You
Thank
need
you.
to get the county attorney's signature.
Pardon me?
You'll need to get the county attorney's signature. They're the designated signee for the, I think they have to sign that. Actually, no. No, they don't.
Oh, I thought it was just mayor
Yep,
and.
you're good.
Mayor
You're good.
and
Mayor and
city
I
acting
want to
city
double check that,
administrator.
yeah.
Pro tem.
Yep, you're good.
So,
You're
okay.
good.
Thank you, Jason.
Make money.
There you go. All right, FFA lease agreement.
All right, so it's been a few years since this lapsed. The FFA has been renting the land. It's on the north side of Front Street. Last agreement I could see was in 2018. So I had Matt draft a new agreement with them. This one's for 5 years, a little longer term, just to keep it on, keep it going, I guess.
And what do we have for a reminder to renew this?
We'll have to come up with something, put something in place, whether it be a calendar or something
Yeah.
similar to what we've done with Orchard Lane
Okay.
in lieu of tax, so.
Yeah, I would really appreciate that
There,
we.
other than that, there really isn't anything in place or program that we have that would do that. The problem we have is someone leaves, the calendar goes with them. So we've been trying since Chris left, to have a generic, so we have administrator at tracym.org where we can plop some of this stuff into a calendar that isn't set to a person, it's set to more of a generic email, and then that calendar is shared to one or two aliases where they can also access it. So we're trying to come up with a somewhat decent system to track that.
Hey,
Could it be
so
saved
we're-
like on an M drive or anything where other individuals can get to it?
The problem is,
You need a nudge that reminds you, almost like on your phone, you can have something
and
come
that's
up
what
on your.
that's what a calendar invite would do. We can't really put it on a thumb drive because Microsoft now, it's Microsoft 365, everything's web-based. So nothing's saved on a computer anymore, it's all on cloud.
Right, but on like an M drive or a L or an S, I mean, whatever, just a drive that you're able to actually pull up.
And we keep the agreements on there, but people have to know that they're there and that they expire.
Peg
We
said
had
that in the main office, there's a file for, like renewable contracts and whatever.
There is, but someone has to look at them and see what the deadlines are.
I think the calendar sounds like
Yeah.
the best thing, because you can set your reminders.
And it just pops up.
Yeah.
Because, there's, if you look at the turnover in the office too, I mean, nobody's there that were there, what, 2015? I
Put it
mean,
on your calendar, you don't go anywhere.
I have a lot on my calendar, I think I'm going 5 or 6 now. But that's probably the most logical way to track that.
I just thought I'd make mention of it since this is not the first time we've kind of run into this situation where we lose institutional knowledge and then we find out after so many years we haven't even been collecting revenue that we could, or paying taxes when we should have been, cost of such.
Well, even for the land sales, you could put a reminder on there after 2 years, if they haven't
Yeah.
built, because otherwise that goes to the wayside too. I think a calendar makes a lot of sense to put any of those time repetitive things.
Do you have any questions about the contract? Lease agreement?
I'll make a resolution to approve, or make a motion to approve resolution 2023-79, the FFA lease agreement.
Second.
Have first and second, any other discussion?
What, is some of that they're farming though, is that open for saleable lots?
Did it-
The 2 lots are excluded from this.
And
So what if all of a sudden it took off?
within the agreement, it does discuss that we have to give them notice, and then their lease would decrease by a proportionate amount of whatever land they're farming over there. If we do that after it's been planted, then we owe them a portion of what their lease is as a credit, and so there, it was pretty well worded, I thought.
There's a note.
There's a way to factor depending on if and when it's breached, who gets paid what, so.
Any other discussion? Call for the vote.
Schmidt.
Yes.
Teagues.
Aye.
Landig.
Aye.
Shones.
Aye.
Avisa.
Yes.
Pro Tem Mayor Dobson.
Yes. You have anything for us, Matt?
I do not have anything for the council.
Anything else? Shane?
Motion adjourned.
Second? All in favor? Aye. Bear didn't even address us.
Goodness.